There are some games that we all know about just because they were huge in the YouTube Let's Play community back in the day. One of those games is definitely Heavy Rain, a game made by Quantic Dream that every Let's Player did a series on. I tried to watch a Let's Play of it back in the day, but whoever I was watching, I don't remember who, they made the main character be really mean to his son, and I did not like it. It made me feel really bad for the son, so I just quit watching. And for some reason, I didn't just switch to another Let's Play. I gave up on the game entirely. I guess my trust had just been broken. But I still heard about the game all the time. People loved it. They said it was such a good game, and you won't believe the twist. And then time went on, and all I heard about the game for a while was that there was this glitch where you could make the main character just yell his son's name repeatedly during a cutscene.
Son! 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 Son!
Ethan!
Son! Son!
I know who the killer is, Ethan. I can prove your innocence.
Son!
And I also heard that you could miss every QTE and it just wouldn't change a thing.
There's another one!
Why'd he tackle it? But then more time went on, and I started to hear people talk about Heavy Rain again. They were saying that it's bad and the writing is awful. I was so confused. People loved this game back in the day. Then I realized that Quantic Dream is the same team that made Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy, an insane game that I made a video on a while back. If Quantic Dream made Heavy Rain, and people are now saying that Heavy Rain makes no sense, I knew that I just had to experience this game for myself now, because I was going to be in for something crazy. Heavy Rain is an interactive drama game about 4 characters trying to solve the case of the infamous origami killer, who kidnaps and drowns little boys. A lot of insane and weird things happen in this game that make no sense, but there is one thing that ruins the game for a lot of people, and that is the big twist: the identity of the origami killer. They say that it makes no sense and ruins the whole story. It seems now that people have had years to reflect on the twist, they realize that it just doesn't work. So today, I'm going to take you through the story of Heavy Rain. We're going to uncover the identity of the origami killer and see if everyone's right. Is Heavy Rain not as good as we all remember? But first, the disclaimer. Please do not take this video as a serious review. In these videos, I focus more on the story rather than the gameplay, as that is what is most interesting to me. So if you're looking for someone to go really in depth on gameplay and things like that, this is not the video for you. Also, please do not take this video as me hating on this game. I genuinely enjoy all the games I talk about, even if I'm poking fun at them. We're just here to have some fun. Okay, disclaimer over. Let's find the killer. So Heavy Rain does have multiple endings you can get based on the choices you make, but for this video, to keep things simple, we're just sticking to one of the paths that gets you the best ending for all the characters. So the game has 4 protagonists and you switch between them throughout the game, but I'd say the character that is the most main protagonist out of them all is Ethan Mars, and he's the one who the game opens with. We see him living a happy life with his wife Grace and 2 sons, Jason and Sean, and honestly, even though I know a lot of nonsensical stuff happens in this game, it genuinely made me sad watching this opening sequence because I knew everything was going to go horribly wrong for this family. So the Mars family goes to the world's most crowded mall. Grace takes Sean to go look for some new shoes, leaving Ethan with Jason. Jason just starts wandering off on his own, and Ethan follows him until they reach a terrifying clown selling balloons.
Jason, you really shouldn't wander off like that, you know? There's an awful lot of people in here.
Please, Dad, can I have one? I would really love to have one. Please, Dad, come on.
Honestly, Jason, between you wandering off and the way you just worded that question, you're kind of annoying me. But Ethan is a good dad, so you can have the balloon. But then Jason immediately runs off while Ethan is paying for the balloon. Where are you going? Just stay still. Ethan tries to make his way through the crowd and looks for Jason.
Jason! 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 Jason!
He finds him outside across the street. Jason, what are you doing? Why did you wander all the way outside and across the street? Where are you trying to go? Jason sees his dad and then makes yet another very terrible decision.
Jason! No!
Jason unfortunately dies from his injuries, but I am kind of confused on how that happened. It looks like Ethan totally shielded Jason from the car. If anyone should be dead here, it should be Ethan. But hey, I'm not an expert on this stuff. The camera cuts away as soon as impact is made, so maybe I'm just missing the context that would make this make sense. So now we jump forward 2 years. Ethan and Grace are divorced and split custody of Sean. We see Ethan picking up Sean from school on a rainy fall day, and it honestly is sad to see how depressing their life got. So during this scene, we learn about the origami killer. For a few years now, every fall when the rain is heavy, the origami killer will kidnap young boys. A few days later, they're found dead, drowned in the rainwater with an origami figure next to them. Well, that's pretty scary. I sure do hope nothing happens to Ethan's young son Sean during this rainy fall season. We also learned that since the accident, Ethan suffers from blackouts where he just wakes up hours later in a totally different location. After this, we're introduced to the second of our playable characters, Scott Shelby. He's a private detective trying to solve the origami killer case. He visits the mother of one of the victims, Lauren. He asks if she remembers anything about her son's murder that would help the investigation, but she's really not interested in helping him or reliving the trauma. He gives her his card in case she changes her mind and leaves. But then he gets an asthma attack in the hallway. And this is actually a very convenient asthma attack, because as he's searching for his inhaler in the hallway, a man shows up and attacks Lauren. Scott rushes back inside and beats the guy up, and Lauren is extremely grateful. Then the scene changes and we meet our third playable character, Norman Jayden. He's an FBI agent that's been sent to help the police department find the origami killer. Now, the game tries to stay grounded in reality for the most part, except when it comes to Norman. So he's got these special glasses from the FBI called Ari, and when he puts them on, he can see clues, pull up evidence before him. He can also change the environment he's in. Ari has some pretty major side effects though, the main one being hallucinations caused by brain damage. Yeah, sorry FBI, I don't think I'd be using these glasses. Now the FBI did make a special drug called tryptophan, which helps reduce the side effects of Ari, but it's super addictive. Norman is trying to resist using tryptophan, but he keeps going through withdrawals. So physically, Norman is not doing so great. Honestly, I think he should just stop using Ari because he mostly just uses it to look at evidence which he can look at in real life. How much is it really helping you, Norman? Anyway, he arrives at the scene where the latest origami killer victim has been found. He uses Ari to look at the clues and also introduces himself to one of the police officers on the case, Carter Blake. Blake is a jerk, and that's really all you need to know about him. Now we're back to Ethan, who's at the playground with Sean. Sean wants to ride the merry-go-round, but as he's riding, one of Ethan's blackouts hits. He wakes up at night in the middle of the street. He rushes back to the playground, but Sean isn't there. He runs home, but he isn't there either. Ethan is distraught and collapses in the middle of the street. There's an origami figure in his hand. Sean has been kidnapped by the origami killer. Okay, but I have to know how the origami killer took Sean. Was he just watching Ethan, waiting for him to have a blackout so he could take Sean? And if that's the case, how did he know Ethan had blackouts? And how did no one notice the killer taking Sean? They were at a very crowded playground. How did this happen? Ethan reports the kidnapping to the police, and then we're back to playing as Scott. He's found another one of the parents of the victims, this man who runs a convenience store. Like Lauren, he's not too keen on talking about what happened. But then a guy shows up and tries to rob the place. Scott saves the day once again by knocking out the robber. The store owner is thankful and decides to help Scott after all. When his son was kidnapped, the killer sent him a letter and a locker key. Inside the locker, he found a box full of items, but he never understood what it meant. He decides to let Scott keep the box for his investigation.
Mr. Shelby, I was beginning to think that there was no good to be found in this place. But I can see now that I was wrong.
Okay, but what about the robber passed out on the floor? Neither of you gonna call the police? You're just gonna stand there, Mr. Store Owner? And you're just going to leave Mr. Store Owner alone with him, Scott? Something tells me that this robber won't be too happy when he wakes up. So now we finally meet our fourth playable character, a reporter named Madison. She has a dream that intruders broke into her house and are attacking her. Then she wakes up. And that's all we get from Madison for right now. Right after that, we switch back to Ethan, who, much like the store owner, got a letter and a key to a locker with a box inside. Back at the police station, Norman is giving a presentation on what he's learned about the killer. And Blake is just being the worst about it.
I was able to isolate a zone where the killer might live.
And what size is this, zone?
About 10 square mile.
Oh, great. Must be 10,000 people live in that sort of area. You gonna question them one by one?
There are 2 suspects whose psychological profile might fit and can be connected to the comfort zone. I'd like to question them.
God damn it. We're wasting our time with this bullshit. The killer's out there somewhere, and we gotta get off our asses and find him.
He is intelligent, organized, and methodical. You won't find him by patrolling the streets.
Tell me, Agent Jayden, did you get your vast experience on the job, or did you just fucking read about it in some school book?
I came here to find a killer. And that is exactly what I'm gonna do. With or without your help.
Fucking asshole!
Oh my god, somebody shut this guy up!
All the victims were drowned in rainwater. The killer kills only in the fall when there is plenty of rain. It could be that he puts them in some sort of well or tank that is open to the skies and that fills up with rainwater. The more it rains, the less time the victim has to live.
You said it took 6 inches of rainfall before the victim died. How much time do we have left?
If the weather forecasts are right, less than 72 hours.
Okay, I know this is a game, but realistically, Sean would be dead long before the 72 hours are up. He's stuck in a well, filling up with freezing rainwater with no food for days. I'm pretty sure he would die of hypothermia long before he drowns. And even if he somehow doesn't die of hypothermia, isn't he going to have to be constantly treading water to not drown? Realistically, how long is he going to be able to do that? I mean, honestly, I have very poor swimming skills, so maybe it's longer than I think, but I still don't think it'd be that long. Anyway, my point is that 72 hours is way too generous. I think you need to find that boy, like, right now. Back to Scott. He's arrived at the house of yet another parent of a victim. There's a baby left alone crying, and her mother is laying in the tub after a failed attempt to end her own life. Scott carries the woman out of the tub, cleans up her wounds, and cares for the baby. The woman is thankful and tells him that the killer left her a phone, but she could never figure out why, and now so much time has passed that it's dead. She lets him take the phone for his investigation as thanks. Scott is really just out here giving faith to all these parents that there are still good people in the world. Ethan checks into a motel. He opens the box he got, and there's a phone just like the one the woman got. It plays a video of Sean in the water.
Help! Dad!
Sean.
Where are you? I'm so cold. Dad! Dad!
Is it just me, or does he not sound as scared as he should?
Help!
So the box is filled with origami figures, and the phone explains what to do with them. The first letter tells him to go to a car repair shop with a ticket for a car to pick up.
Excuse me? Hey!
Oh! Huh. Sorry. Didn't see you.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure you could hear him.
Hey, you're a pretty patient guy, you are. That car's been there for 2 years.
2 years? So clearly the origami killer set this whole thing up, but the car repair guy really never found it suspicious? Does that also mean the parents of previous victims never even made it to the first trial if the car has been untouched for that long? Or does the killer have multiple cars ready for each kid he kidnaps, and the guy working there just doesn't question it at all? Anyway, he gets in the car and the GPS instructs him to go to a specific location.
Are you ready to show your courage in order to save your son? Listen carefully. Take the highway and drive against the traffic for 5 miles. If you haven't reached your destination in 5 minutes, you will have failed.
Ethan drives into the oncoming traffic. He makes it to the destination on time, but he crashes the car.
Destination reached. Please press the screen. Destination reached. Your reward is in the glove compartment. The key is inside the GPS.
How did the origami killer program a GPS that would know Ethan drove through oncoming traffic, and only then it would give him the reward? The prize is a card that goes into the phone. It shows another video of Sean and reveals a few letters of the address he's located at. Then Ethan hobbles back to the motel. We finally get another Madison section, and she's checking into the same motel Ethan is staying at because she has insomnia, and she seems to sleep better at motels. She comes across Ethan bleeding out in the hallway, so she takes him to his room and helps him clean up his wounds. She's obviously curious about what happened to him, but decides to leave in the end. Meanwhile, Norman and Blake track down a potential suspect, and there's a wacky chase scene. In the end, to no one's surprise, it's revealed that this guy is not the origami killer. At Scott's place, Lauren shows up. She's decided that she wants to figure out who the killer is, and begs him to let her help him. Scott is obviously reluctant at first, but he can see how desperate Lauren is to learn the truth about what happened to her son, so he agrees to let her be his partner. They head to Gordy Kramer's house, who's the son of an owner of a big construction company, so he's very rich. He's throwing a big party, so it's pretty easy for them to just walk right into the house.
I don't know why, but your story just doesn't check out. You're giving me the crap now. Tell me something I can't believe.
Very well. I'm the origami killer. I get my victims into my car. I drown them in rainwater. Then I dump them on a wasteland with an origami figure in one hand and an orchid on their chest.
Well, that was easy. I mean, he's obviously not the killer. There's way too much time in the game left for it to be him. But he's clearly done something bad because he sends a bunch of goons after Scott to shut him up, but he actually takes them down pretty easily.
Do you know who my father is? He only has to lift one finger and you won't wake up tomorrow morning. You're the one that should be afraid, Mr. Shelby. not me.
I don't know, dude. He took all your guys out like it was nothing. I think you're the one who should be afraid. Now it's time for Ethan's next trial. He goes to an abandoned power plant and has to make his way through this. How long has the killer had this set up? He gets the next chip for the phone, and then Madison finds him knocked out on the floor and has to tend to his wounds again.
Listen, I'm truly grateful for your help, but for your own sake, I think it's better if you don't ask any questions.
Maybe I could help you.
No one can help me. You've already done a lot, Madison.
Right. I'm gonna go.
Oh, she is gonna go, alright. Go stick her nose into your business, because you can only help a man who keeps passing out in his motel room from serious injuries so many times before you need to know what's up with this dude. So, remember Ethan's ex-wife, Grace? Well, she decides to go to the police station and accuse Ethan of being the origami killer. She thinks that he's kidnapping and killing the boys during his blackouts. So Norman and Blake go to interrogate Ethan's therapist, which Blake handles really well.
Oh!
Blake is now convinced that Ethan is the killer, and they put his picture all over the news, announcing to the world that he's the origami killer. Thanks a lot, Grace. However, our boy Norman is not convinced that Ethan is the killer. Then Scott goes to talk with Gordy's father while playing some golf.
Don't go near my son, Mr. Shelby. If you do, you'll regret it.
Nope, I think you'll regret it. It's time for Ethan's third trial. He goes to an abandoned apartment and has to cut part of his finger off in front of the camera. This game is just turning into Saw now. Blake and Norman followed Ethan to the third trial site and are waiting outside the apartment to arrest him. On what evidence? I don't know. But Madison also followed him and helps him escape before the police can arrest him. Back to Scott. Lauren still has the envelope that contained the letter sent to her by the killer.
Nothing particular. Except the address.
The address?
It was typed with an old typewriter. Could be a lead, you never know.
They head to an antique repair shop run by an old friend of Scott's, Manfred. He looks at the envelope and is able to determine the exact kind of typewriter the killer used to write it. He says that he's the only one in the area that sells and repairs them, so it's very likely the killer was there at some point. He has a list of all of the clients who ever bought or repaired this kind of typewriter and goes to get it.
Been a while since Manfred went into his office. I should take a look.
Hello?
Manfred!
Hello? Your call is lodged, sir. A police car will be there in a few minutes.
How on earth did the origami killer break in and kill him in such a short amount of time without either one of them noticing? And he called the police before escaping to try and pin the crime on Scott and Lauren. That was a lot for the killer to do without either of them hearing anything. They wipe their prints off everything in the shop and escape before the police arrive. Scott tries to take Lauren home after this and demands that she stays out of the investigation because it's too dangerous. She insists that she's going to find the killer with or without his help. In the end, he feels bad, and he can't just leave her on his own, so he comforts her and decides to let her keep working with him. Ethan heads to the fourth trial, which is to kill a man. Okay, these have escalated very quickly. Ethan can't bring himself to do it though, even if it means he'll be missing part of the address. Madison decides to do some investigating of her own and tracks down the guy who owns the apartment the third trial was in. There's a guy named Paco who runs a club called Blue Lagoon. She seduces him to get him alone and then knocks him out and ties him up. She gets him to admit that he sold the apartment to a guy named John Shepard. Meanwhile, Norman is having quite the adventure. Yeah, so he tracked down this guy who sold the car Ethan drove earlier. Norman gets him to admit that a mysterious man told him to sell the car to someone named Paco. But then Norman starts going through major tryptophan withdrawals, which gives the guy enough time to put him in this precarious situation. But it all works out in the end. For Norman, not the guy. Norman heads to Blue Lagoon to visit Paco, but we have to check in with Scott and Lauren first. Scott has a list of people who have subscribed to origami magazines. Lauren comes up with the idea to cross-examine that list with the list of Manfred's clients who had the typewriter. There's one name that comes up on both lists: John Shepard. The only problem is John Shepard is dead. They go to his grave and learn that he died as a kid. The groundskeeper remembers what happened to him and tells them the story. One day, John was playing in a construction site with his brother. And honestly, John was kind of a jerk.
Move your ass! I'm waiting! Come on! Jeez, you're nothing but a slowpoke. Come on, loser!
Anyway, John fell into a pipe. His foot was stuck and the pipe was filling up with rainwater. His brother wasn't able to help him and John died. As the two leave the graveyard, they see Gordy's father visiting John's grave, which they find very suspicious. Norman makes it to Blue Lagoon. He goes to see Paco, but he walks in on the origami killer, who is conveniently obscured by darkness, killing Paco. The two get into a fight, but the killer escapes in the end. Madison visits Ethan, who is really depressed he didn't kill that man. Madison says that he couldn't kill the man because he's not a killer. She can prove that the origami killer is someone else. Then they make out and sleep together, and I really wish the game didn't make you play through it, but it does. In the morning, Ethan looks through Madison's stuff and discovers that she's a reporter, which really upsets him.
I wanted to tell you the truth, but I couldn't. I was afraid that you may not believe me. I was afraid that you'd ask me to go. All I want is for you to find your son alive. And when it's all over, I want to be with you.
Madison, do you know anything about him aside from the fact that his son has been kidnapped? Ethan forgives Madison and she goes to get some breakfast, but the police are outside. She calls Ethan to warn him and he makes a run for it.
So, on your knees, hands behind your head. Holy fuck! Ah! Hey, what's the matter with you? Whoa!
I really feel like the police did not try hard enough to stop him, but whatever. So then, out of nowhere, Scott and Lauren get kidnapped by the Kramer family. They knock them out, put them in a car, and drive into the lake. Luckily, Scott wakes up in time to grab Lauren and escape. And now Scott has had enough of the Kramer family. I told you people that you should be fearing Scott, not the other way around. He makes it to Mr. Kramer and gets him to tell him the truth about Gordy.
Gordy always wanted his fun, you know. He wanted to be like the origami killer. He kidnapped that kid and he held him under the water for a little too long. It was an accident. An unfortunate accident. No one will miss him.
What?
That boy, Gordy killed. No one will miss him. Just street trash, like so many others.
Why would you say that to a man who just killed all of your guards?
And what about John Shepard? Why did you put flowers on his grave?
I own the construction site where he died. I never forgot. I've been putting flowers on his grave for 30 years.
Really? That's it?
My heart! My heart! Quickly! I need my pills. In that drawer, there.
I'm no better than him if I let him die.
What do you mean, Scott? You just killed all of his guards! Anyway, at this point, basically all the main characters think that the origami killer is John Shepard's brother. He's been going around using John's name to set everything up for the killings so that no one would know it was him. So Madison decides to visit John's mother in the nursing home to learn the identity of her other son.
Please, Anne. His name. What was his name?
Come closer.
Dang, it's that surprising? Ethan arrives at the final trial, which is to drink some poison that will kill him in an hour, meaning his time to find Sean will be very limited. But luckily, all four of our main characters have now determined Sean's location, which is a warehouse on the docks.
Tell me who the origami killer is. I want to know who killed my son.
Listen, when I'm done, I'll tell you everything I know. I promise.
Oh God, what? I thought Scott was supposed to be a father figure to her. Ew! So all of our main characters head for the warehouse, and then we're shown an extended version of the flashback of John's death. His brother rushes to his father for help, but he's drunk and waves him off. The brother runs back to John.
Don't forget about me, Scotty.
What? this is it. The twist that breaks the game. The twist that made so many people switch their opinion on Heavy Rain from good to bad. And why is that? Because it makes no sense for Scott Shelby to be the killer. And why is that? Because we played as him and nothing adds up. The Scott Shelby we play as is a good man. He saves Lauren, the store owner, and the mother in the tub, when it'd probably benefit them if they all died because they may know something that could point to him being the killer. He takes care of a baby because a mother was in need. These are not the actions of a man who kidnaps and kills little boys. Also, we can literally hear his thoughts throughout the game. And never, not once, does he even think about being the killer or hiding evidence. Why does the killer never ever think about the fact that he's the killer? And instead, he thinks like a private detective trying to figure out who the killer is. Then there's Lauren. Why would he let her be his partner? If his whole goal with this investigation is to steal back any evidence that could point to him and throw the police off his trail, why would he bring in Lauren, a mother of one of the victims, and actually investigate with her? And then there's the scene where he tries to protect her.
Crap, I have no choice. I guess I'm doing this to protect her. I can't just leave her like that. She'd do anything to find the guy who killed her son.
Do these sound like the thoughts of the origami killer? Do these sound like the thoughts of a man who's killed this woman's son? And Scott lets Lauren get so close to the truth. He offered up the information about the envelope all on his own.
Nothing particular. Except the address.
And because he did this, he's forced to kill Manfred, which may be the biggest plot hole in the whole game, because we were literally playing as Scott during this moment. I think it's implied that Scott killed him when Lauren was looking at the music box, but let's just play these scenes side by side. Lauren was not looking at the music box long enough for him to kill Manfred. Not only that, the murder scene has cuts in it, so that means it actually took longer than what we're shown. And even if somehow there was enough time, I still have the same question that I did before. Lauren really didn't hear Scott rush into the next room, whack Manfred over the head, call the police, and then rush back to stand in the exact same spot he was in before. And then, when you take control of Scott again, he thinks this.
Been a while since Manfred went into his office. I should take a look.
You just killed that man. Why would you be thinking that? It's like he knows the player is reading his mind and is trying to trick them. Also, the whole point of him killing Manfred was so that he could steal the client list. But then, in the next scene, Lauren has it and uses it to find the connection to John Shepard. So what was the point? And then there's the whole thing with Gordy and the Kramer family. What was the point of that whole investigation? You're the origami killer. You know Gordy didn't do it. Was it to put blame on them? But then he just solves the actual case and proves Gordy isn't the killer. And don't even get me started on this.
I'm no better than him if I let him die.
You are a serial killer. Why would you say that? Does the Scott Shelby we played as for the whole game know that he's the origami killer? Because the killer and Scott feel like two totally different characters. And that's why people have such a problem with this game. On top of all that, there's little things like Madison being shocked to learn the killer is Scott, but they've never met before. She doesn't know who he is. Or there's the fact that in the middle of his investigation with Lauren, he had time to run home and watch Ethan complete the trials when he had no way of knowing when Ethan was going to do each trial. I could go on, but let's just move on with the story. Madison breaks into Scott's house to try and find more evidence, but he catches her. He locks her in a secret room that he uses for all of his origami killer work. Then he blows the place up, hoping to kill Madison while she's inside.
I'm no better than him if I let him die.
Luckily, Madison is able to escape. Meanwhile, Ethan arrives at the warehouse where Sean is.
I've been looking for a long time, Ethan. Looking for a father that would be able to do what mine could not do. Sacrifice himself in order to save his son. Oh, I searched. And then I remembered you.
All those murders, just to find a father capable of saving his son.
Just to find a father? Do you have any idea how it feels to be a worthless nothing in your father's eyes? Believe me, I've suffered. just as much as my victims.
I'm sorry, Scott, but I really don't understand your motive. Your father couldn't save your brother, so you kidnap little boys in hopes to find a father who is willing to do anything to save his son. I don't get it. We see throughout the game that the fathers of the victims were trying to save their sons. Maybe some of them didn't figure out that there were trials, and maybe some of them died during the trials, but they were doing everything they could to save their sons. But they didn't do it the way Scott wanted them to, or they didn't do it fast enough, so he killed the boys. And if he did find a father that met his standards, then what? Would he just go, good job, here's your son back, I'll never kill again? Because I doubt it. What is he hoping to accomplish? And on top of all that, he should never have kidnapped Sean Mars. Why? Because he already knows his father will do anything to save his son. He saw it happen. So why are you testing him again, Scott? And now that Ethan has done everything he could to save his son twice now, what will you do?
He's there. All you have to do is open that grate.
You're going to kill him? Why? You got what you wanted. Let's go, Norman.
Oh, Sean. Oh. I thought you were gone.
Dad, I knew you'd come and save me.
How was that kid not dead already? I mean, I'm glad he's not. I just don't understand. The 1 hour time limit for the poison is up, but Ethan is fine. So I guess it wasn't really poison? What was the point of that, Scott? You make him do all this other horrible stuff, but actually poisoning him would be going too far? Norman chases after Scott and they get into a huge fight.
Save me. Please, save me.
No! Why would he do that? Maybe if you were the Scott Shelby I played as the whole game, I'd save you. But I don't even know you anymore. Madison rushes into the warehouse to warn Ethan that the police are outside, but since he saved Sean and Norman stopped the real killer, Ethan is no longer a suspect. Though I do imagine he'll be in a bit of trouble for driving into oncoming traffic, breaking and entering, stealing a car, etc. The game ends with Ethan, Madison, and Sean moving into a beautiful new home together. Norman is praised for his work on the case. He decides to flush his remaining tryptophan down the toilet, but he does still keep using Ari. Well, that doesn't feel like a very good ending for him. There is another ending where he resigns from the FBI, giving up both Trypticon and Ari, but you have to make it so that he doesn't solve the case and go to the warehouse to get that ending, and that doesn't feel right either. So I'm just going to pretend that he never uses Ari again after this moment, and he just has to occasionally deal with tiny little tanks appearing out of nowhere. The last character we see is Lauren.
You killed my son, Scott. Were you thinking about that when you held me in your arms? I don't know why you did all this. Nothing can justify it anyway. I feel nothing but contempt for you. Nothing but contempt.
So bad for her. She was tricked by Scott like we were. Now she's just sad and lonely. She deserves a better ending than that. But sadly, she doesn't get one, and that is the end of Heavy Rain. What a game! I totally understand why it was so popular back in the day, but I also see why so many people have turned on its writing. I mean, there was a lot that didn't make sense about the story, the characters, and their actions, but if that's all it was, I don't think people would be that bothered with this game. It's the identity of the origami killer that people really have a problem with, because it just doesn't make sense, and there were too many plot holes. Also, it makes me sad because Scott was such a cool, enjoyable character, but it was all a lie. Now, that being said, I do not hate Heavy Rain at all. I still found the story really interesting and enjoyable, and I really liked all of the characters. I genuinely felt so bad for all of them, except for Scott. They were all going through such horrible, sad things, and I wanted the best for them. It makes me sad that Ethan and Madison are the only ones that get a truly happy ending. And yes, I agree that the Scott twist makes no sense, but I can't even be mad. You all know I'm a sucker for games that make no sense. Huge plot holes are hilarious to me, okay? They bring me a special kind of joy, and now I will never forget Heavy Rain and how Scott Shelby turned into a completely different character and pulled off the stupidest murder ever. Did any of you play Heavy Rain back in the day? Is it as good as you remember, or are you starting to question it like so many other people are? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know what other games you'd like me to talk about. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe to see more content from me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
911, what's your emergency?